Nebraska head football coach Matt Rhule joining us here on HuskerOnline Headlines. Coach, we just heard from you earlier today as we kind of put a wrap on this very, very busy month of June. The dead period's around the corner. What's that look like for you? Are you going to be able to catch your breath a little bit, or are you going to be knee deep in it still over the dead period?
No, I'll stay here in Lincoln, here in Waverly, man. But I'm gonna be around the office a little bit. I'll take maybe a couple days later in July. But I think it's really important that the players don't see me every day. They don't see the coaches. So to me, June, you're instructing the players, you're around them. June is crazy for recruiting and camps. But in July, then the team has to be turned over to the seniors, to the leaders, and so for me, it's that's the time to do that. So I'll be around. I'll get my work done. I work on a lot of like situational football and training camp stuff during that time because a lot of my job is not football. So July is a chance for me to really dive back into the football.
Interesting, Matt. June is, for those of us who are a certain age, June hasn't always been like it is now. What is the most challenging part of June for you, for the head coach, and for the coaches in general? The most challenging aspects of June?
Sleeping. It's when I was in it, when I was the head coach at Temple and early at Baylor, you couldn't work with the players on the field. You couldn't have a ball out there. You couldn't meet. There was no recruiting back then. So, we'd have some camps and we would be game planning and getting ready for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's recruiting. You heard me say today, 4,300 kids come to our camps, 37 different states. That's a big deal. Having people in on official visits, which used to be in December, now they're in June, is a big deal. Being able to get out there with our guys, we call them OTAs, but just do some football specific training is really, conditioning is really good. So the rules have changed. I think the key is
mm-hmm.
You have to be great at recruiting and great at camps, but you cannot neglect your own team.
Right.
And so that's where the sleep comes in. I know a lot of people their coaches won't even work their camp. Well, we can't. But we also have to be great with our players because this is our chance to affect them in a positive way. And then we let the team run the team in July.
Okay.
Joined here by the head coach, Matt Rhule, on HuskerOnline Headlines. Coach, last July or last fall camp, you had your teams move into the dorms. I assume that tradition's going to continue. What did you like about that? Any changes that you're going to make this year with the training camp as you kind of start to build for July 31st?
We'll move back into dorms. I think it's really important that we always recenter ourselves back on campus. We're fighting for this campus. I think it's really important that we center ourselves as a team. You guys are still going to be on their phones and things, but you're not home. You're not playing the video game, by yourself. I loved the interaction last year. It's last week was two weeks. Maybe this week is a little bit shorter. If I dare to, just because how the schedule falls. But I think it's a good thing, and it's a good thing that guys someday. I can tell you this 10 years from now they'll be talking about this happened in the dorm and that happened. So I think it's a good thing. The only main difference this year is that last year we practiced 2 practices a day early on, and we had the young guys practicing and then a developmental practice and the older guys practicing by themselves. And we won't do that this year. That developmental concept, we'll have 3 fields going, we'll do all that, but I want everyone out there at the same time. And I want everyone competing in front of each other. So that was kind of a year 1 thing. I loved doing it, but now I feel like we're in year 2, and we have to make year 2, year 3. And so we're going to advance the way we do things.
Year two of camp. I mean, people, forgive me, Matt, I lapse into beat writer mode sometimes. You have a quarterback competition. When would you like to see the competition settled? What would be the best period for that to be settled in your mind?
It's a great question. I don't know that I know that, honestly. I think the one thing that I've had outsiders come in and visit us and just watch us, they've said, man, you can see this in the picture that's on my screen. Your 3 quarterbacks really like each other. And so I think, if you have a bunch of guys who respect each other, the competition continues to bring out the best in everybody. That doesn't mean when you're having a competition, though, that you're not skewing the reps. If someone's going to go with the 1s more than 3s. Someone's going to go with the 2s more than 3s. So that will happen. But I'd obviously like it before game week. That's what I don't want to do is name someone the starter and all of a sudden have second thoughts a couple weeks later. It's like I tell guys in recruiting, take all your visits if you have to, because when you commit to us, we want you here for 4 years, not just 4 weeks. So it's the same thing with this. We'll let them play it out and let them show off all the work they did this summer and see where we are.
So it could go to game week.
Yeah, and there's a gamesmanship probably to be the head coach where maybe you it 2 weeks in, but you're not letting the opponent know. I don't know in this year because it's a new staff at UTEP, and so you're watching what they did previously, but I don't know that we know what they're doing. So it's maybe not as much of a benefit. I don't know yet. I really kind of haven't ever said to myself I want to have it done by this date.
Okay.
I want the guys to get better. I'm hoping they all push each other.
Coach, the interior of your offensive line is another area where I think you've got a lot of options. Have you kind of with Mazuka coming in and the players that played a year ago, how have you kind of put that together, that puzzle together of what that interior of your line is going to look like? It seems like your tackles feel settled at this point with Benhart and Prohaska out there. But what about that interior portion?
I think it's really the same kind of even at the tackle, but the same at guards. I mean, you want to go into a season where you feel like you have at least 7. You prefer to have 8. 8's kind of always the number. When you have 8 guys you feel good about playing. The best teams I've been on, we've rotated guys in even on the O-line. Like when you can do that, man, you're really a good team. So I think we have 8, 9, 10 guys that are ready to play. I feel great about it. And I think a big piece of this is O-line get banged up. They get hurt, they get beat up, and so you might think you have it settled, and all of a sudden one ankle sprain away, and now you have a backup in. So that's why we practice 3 groups the way that we do. That's why we walk through and summer we give everyone reps so that we're building that depth. We're building the next offensive line this year for next year. It's all kind of thought process together. But with Turner coming back, we have a lot of guys who played a lot of football, and I expect them to have some good battles. And again, competition can be friendly. It brings out the best in you, and our guys like to compete.
Turner Corcoran, you told the media corps today that he's one of the players that'll be back full go. Deshaun Singleton and Gabe Irvin were the others. As far as Turner Corcoran goes, is he guard or attack? Where does he play? Where would you start him off at?
Yeah, he'll be out of tackle.
Okay.
And Turner can play, but he can also play guard. We obviously had Justin started a bunch of games there at left guard last year, and we started games. You mentioned Micah coming in. We have a bunch of other really good guards. But Turner can play guard. He can play, he can play tackle. I'm sure he can even go in and play center. He's a very versatile player for us.
Okay,
Coach, you guys have looked at some other quarterback options. I mean, how realistic is it that you could add another quarterback from now until camp? I know the postgraduate and other things have got a lot of things moving there. Is it realistic that you could still add one more QB to this roster right now?
Yeah, well, Jalen's here. Jalen's in the mix, and he's just started, I think, today. Working out for us. So
and that's Gramstad.
Yeah, I think that's the extent of it. So obviously between we brought in obviously the 3 scholarship guys. We've had Luke Longville. We brought in Bodie Suka and who I loved last year at camp. And then you guys hey, text that out, tweet that.
No,
the news out about Jalen. I love it. But yeah, so Jalen's here, and so anytime you have a guy with that, that experience, I don't know a ton about him yet in terms of, where he would fit and all that. But that we're kind of working on all those guys.
Yeah, those postgraduate camps, you never know who's going to show up. And here, the NAIA Player of the Year that played in 2 straight national title games, I don't think anybody really knew he was going to be there. What have you learned about him? I mean, what kind of tape did you guys get to watch on him after you kind of figured out that this guy's got a pretty good career that he's put up at Northwestern, and he grew up a Husker fan?
Well, first of all, kudos. I mean, really, and I think it speaks a lot to him, but the people at Northwestern, they bent over backwards to help him, and they could have said, hey, we want to keep you here, and so we're going to keep you here. But I respect Jalen. He's got a great thing there. He wants to come. He wants to be a Husker. I respect the people there. And they could have made it hard for him, but they made it easy for him because they care about him. So had a chance to watch his film. Obviously, he's a dual threat guy, and he played safety for them. He can help in a lot of different ways. And so, he's coming in. The other guys have been in the system for a while, but again, he's a football player, and excited to give him an opportunity.
Did it require a certain type of guy for you to put into this situation? Why? I guess what I'm getting is, why does Jalyn fit right now?
Well, at the end of the day, if you get down, let's just say right now he comes in, let's say he is the fourth quarterback. I don't know where that'll end up, but
right.
You get down to the fourth quarterback, if you can have a guy that's won big games. I think sometimes we put too much in. Winners are winners. I remember when I was at Temple, and I would always tell our AD, I'd rather play a Power 5 team who loses, who has a history of losing, than play an FCS team who wins all the time. The winners win. Winners, they go into the game, they expect to win. When something goes wrong, they laugh at it. It gets them mad. They come back, they play better. And when the game gets close, they go out and they win. We're trying to instill that mindset here, right? That's why, I don't like, it's close losses. No, let's talk about the close wins that are coming. This is a guy, he's a winner. And so I think the more winners you put around you, they practice that way, they walk through that way, they act that way in the locker room. They're not a victim. They're not weak-minded. They're tough-minded. And when the day comes that we turn to Jalyn and say, hey, go win the game for us, he's going to expect to win. And that's infectious.
Okay.
So, the thought is he could be here 2 years, though, because he's not redshirted, right? Is there a chance that you'd get him here and he's got 4 games plus a season?
Yeah, he's got the potential for that. So I think, he's going to have to make a lot of decisions in his life, what he wants to do. I know he wants to coach when he's done. If you want to be a coach, there's not many guys, I don't say I'm not the greatest head coach in the country, but I do take care of my own, and I do keep the guys who played for me around. So, if you want to be a coach, it's a good place to start.
Matt, you mentioned at the press conference today, 2 players from the post-grad camp will be joining the roster. Can you say who the second one is?
The other one's not done yet, so he's, so I have to wait on that one.
That's fine. Just thought I'd ask.
We had another young man that came in that, we gave an opportunity to join the team.
Okay.
We're shaking you down here, Coach. We appreciate
the shakedown.
As we wrap it up here with Coach Rhule, final recruiting weekend for you. How much pressure is there just building these final weekends in June, knowing that it's your last swing at getting official visitors on campus, really until September, maybe or in October, and in a lot of cases, and very few kids are available by that point.
Yeah, you think about recruiting moving forward. There's no more December contacts. You can't go out in December anymore. So you can go out a little bit in the season and get some evaluation days, but really for me as a head coach, if I don't see them in January, I never get to see them again. It's gotten really difficult. Last year, I was out in December seeing all the guys and making sure they signed with us, and there's no more of that anymore. So these visits are important. Getting guys to come back in the season are important. We talked about it today. I don't know what the roster numbers are going to be. I don't know if all of a sudden they give me a hard cap of 85. I have to be careful about how many guys I commit to right now. I'm hoping that by September I know. So we don't need to go commit a bunch of guys and all of a sudden be sitting there in September and having to walk back on people saying, hey, we can't take you now. It's a really hard place to be. I can't answer anything about revenue sharing. I don't know how much money's in the revenue sharing pot. I don't know. There's so many questions right now. And if I talked to Amy Williams the other day. My daughter's at her camp, and Amy's such a wonderful person. Okay, she's such a great, great person. We were talking about kind of this world now, not wanting to make promises to players, but other schools are, and they're saying whatever because they know it's all going to get wiped away here soon. Yeah, we'll give you 2 boats in a house because in 6 months they might say, oh, there's none of that anymore. Sorry, our bad. And just wanting to do things the ethical way, the right way, like Amy does. So I don't want to commit too many people. And all of a sudden, hey, there's a hard cap of 85 and that's it. And there's no more walk-ons. It's a really slippery slope right now that we're trying to deal with.
This roster limit rule, who is driving this? Why are we in a position that we're trying to take away opportunities from I just don't understand the notion that teams everywhere are going to have to make massive cuts and take away opportunities, and what is the driving force behind this?
So really, the really originally roster limits were school by school based upon Title IX, as you were proportionate of female enrollment, male enrollment, and then having men's and women's sports match, right? And so when I got here, there was like 160 guys in the roster, and Trev was like, hey, we need to get down to like 115. We've been slowly working our way down. The hard part here in the state of Nebraska is there's guys here that'll turn down a scholarship at a group of 5 school to come here. And, so we love having all these guys. Like, what an amazing culture to have all these guys on our team. This new roster limit thing is not related to Title IX now. So this is related to the roster. I don't know why that's coming out of, and that's coming out of that side, I believe. That's coming out of the plaintiff side. At the same time, there's a bunch of schools that are going to struggle to get this $21 million to pay the student athletes. And now, if you say you can have 120 scholarship players, well, 115, they don't have the money to add scholarships, and then add scholarships then on the women's side to stay in proportionality. So I think it came from the plaintiff side. There's a big financial repercussion as well. My thing has been, we're going to need people to practice at this. We're going to, just imagine like the movie Rudy wouldn't even exist anymore moving forward. I mean, it's part of what's amazing about football. And so, I don't know. I'm anxious to see how it ends up. I'm pretty vocal. Like, we'll go to Big Ten meetings. I'm pretty vocal about some of these subjects because I think there's unintended consequences of everything. We passed some of these laws to make them student athlete friendly, but you're going to see a bunch of schools drop sports. I bet you're going to see people lose their opportunities to walk on. So it will benefit some student athletes, but it won't benefit the vast majority of them who no longer have an opportunity to play.
Quick follow up, Matt. So Trev Alberts wanted to pare the roster down to 115. How does Troy Gannon approach this, the new AD?
Yeah, so Troy's been, it wasn't Trev wanting to get. I want to make sure it was just sort of that was what kind of the Title IX number hit us at, right? Like,
sure.
Hey, and so I understood that. I was all on board. Hey, I'll get to 115 if that's what we need. That's what I'm used to.
Yeah,
I think it's unique to the state of Nebraska. The interest in guys joining the team, understanding that hey, I have a long road to hoe here to get on the field, but I'm here because I love the Cornhuskers. Troy's been sort of like, hey, now I'll take the lead on it, and I've been trying to approach it in a different way. Like, hey, maybe if some of these guys graduate, we're moving them on, but I can't. I don't really want to go to 20 guys and say thanks for everything the last 2 years, but we've done. I just not my way, and I also don't want to miss out on some opportunities to bring guys in. We brought some guys in as non-scholarship players, as walk-ons. This just right now, even in the summer, that I know are going to play something. So just when you want to figure out how to win in a place like Nebraska, look back at the past and see what they did. And part of that was having a big roster to practice against, and part of that was giving kids an opportunity to walk on and prove themselves.
Well, Coach, we appreciate everything, the time, and hopefully you'll catch your breath a little bit before we get back going again. But thank you again, Coach, for your time here on HuskerOnline Headlines.
I appreciate you guys for covering all the camps and going to all the camps. Because I think a couple of times I was talking to you, Sean, and kids would come up and they'd say, "I'm sorry, Mr. Rhule, could you take a picture of me and Mr. Callahan?" So I know how many people watch this, and they should, and the way you guys. So thank you for covering the camps. It makes more people want to come to the camps and continues to build the Husker name. So thank you guys.
We just got to get Sipple to bring his luggage and not forget his luggage on this next round.
I'll tell you what, that's a heck of a shirt right there, bro.
Target. $13, Coach. $13. I saw it.
Everything I wear is free, just for the record, so I can't say anything. $13 more than I spent on this outfit.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate this.
Thanks again to Coach Matt Rhule.